Howdy, 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 my name's Tanashi Sasuke. Welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, we read about the reluctant Dimension Hopper, who showed up in the next entry, which was interesting. There was the instant growing plants, which briefly sounded like they'd be good for world hunger, but then were not. And the soft death, which, yeah. So today we're going to start with the basement cat. We're going to go up through the sleeper. Well, it's not the sleeper, just sleeper. So let's check out basement cat, which is Euclid. And there's more than one basement cat, and also the incident is bolded. We'll get there, though. We'll get there. When an instance of SCP-511 is identified, the affected resident shall be quarantined and will receive the next sequential site designation. Excepting one main entrance, sites hosting SCP-511 will have all points of possible entry or exit permanently sealed with appropriate building materials. The main entrance will remain locked at all times. Entry is permitted to Foundation personnel with written authorization from level 3 or higher. All 511 sites will be equipped with remote monitoring equipment allowing for 24-hour surveillance and a continual tracking of the numbers of 511 inhabiting the site. At all times, one disposable dude will be a resident in the site. Personnel with this assignment are exempted from monthly termination for the duration of the assignment. Candidates for this assignment shall be exclusively drawn from a population of post-menopausal women with a global clinical dementia rating of 2 or greater. Note, due to the exclusive nature of this population, L5 Blank has approved recruiting from local hospice and or nursing homes if necessary. Reference, incident, okay, it got its own page. Incident, I-51111. So it sounds like the disposable people need to be crazy cat ladies, basically. The population of 511 within a site must remain within an optimal range of 50 to blank individuals. Below this range, adult Felis domesticus should be introduced to the site to increase population to minimum levels. If population exceeds blank 100 individuals, it must be culled immediately. Any 511 found outside the containment site shall be euthanized and the remains incinerated. Any biological material leaving the containment site for testing will be handled in accordance with standard protocols for a level 4 biohazard. All specimens are incinerated after testing is complete. Before coming in contact with any material from the containment site, personnel must be inoculated for influenza, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, blank blank, which is probably hepatitis C, tetanus, tick-borne encephalitis, and blankety blank. Full medical workups are mandatory on a bi-weekly basis for personnel working with 511. So what the hell is it? Instances of 511 typically occur within residential structures with a block or stone foundation that includes a basement or crawl space. All attempts to remove an instance of 511 from such a residence have proved ineffective. See Interview 511A, which is also its own page. Man, this episode's off to one hell of a start, isn't it? So, SCP-511 is always found associated with a colony of Feral Felis domesticus, common domestic cats. Members of this colony are designated 511-1. SCP-511 is a massive biological matter taking the form of a large feline, often with extra limbs, eyes, mouths, or other organs. It's typically coated with dirt, blood, and fecal matter, making its fur appear black despite its actual coloring. Tests have shown 511's fur to actually be a random patchwork of various feline coat patterns, colors, and lengths. 511's mass varies from 10 kilograms to over 50 kilograms roughly in proportion to the number of 511-1 in the associated colony. The tissue that makes up this mass consists primarily of the bodies of deceased 511-1. The portion of 511 that does not comprise 511-1 consists of other biomass, small rodents, various plant materials, insects and insect larvae, black mold, a human data expunged. Incorporation of dead tissue into 511 does not appear to slow the normal process of decay. Different areas of 511 undergo different stages of biodegradation at any given time. Some areas are show little more than lividity, while other areas may show active carrion insect infestation, and some areas may even show liquefaction of tissues. Note, researchers have described 511 making a purring sound. Tests have shown that this sound does not originate with 511, but is actually the sound of insects, most often blowflies, trapped within its mass. Dr. A. somebody. Wait. Why do they have their own pages if the... Why do they do that? Let's see. 511 prefers to inhabit dark spaces with a relatively high humidity, such as old basements and crawl spaces. It will continually scavenge its immediate area for new biomass to incorporate into itself. displacing and expelling matter that has decayed past mechanical usefulness. Examples of 511-1 resemble ordinary Felis domesticus that have undergone extreme neglect. They display a body condition score of 2 or 1, regardless of the amount of food available. Ulcerated skin is common, as are parasitic infestations, tumors, and various viral and bacterial infections. 1 are known carriers of a particularly virulent strain of something-something. A typical 511-1 shows no interest in grooming itself and has patchy and matted fur. It is unclear to what extent the physical condition of 1 is a result of the influence of 511 and to what extent it is due to suboptimal living conditions. Several observations have been made of an 511-1 retrieving biomass from elsewhere and bringing it to 511 to be incorporated. Addendum 1, Incident Report of Containment Breach at Site 511 blank. Let's check that out. Personnel involved: Disposable Dude, 7856, 35 years of age. Date: August the 27th, 19-something. Location: Site 511 blank, blank Evergreen Way, blank California. After determining that a permanent human presence at a 511 site results in moderation of aggression in 511-1, containment protocol is updated to require a disposable dude to reside on site in the event of the original homeowner is deceased. 6 months after this policy is established, Disposable Dude 7856 is assigned to Site 511 blank. As expected, within a week, aggression levels of 511-1 towards Foundation personnel lessened considerably. 16 days after being assigned to the site, Disposable Dude 7856 began showing signs of increased aggression, verbally abusing Foundation personnel and engaging in superficial vandalism of Site 511 blank. They are reprimanded. 18 days into his assignment, he interferes with the Foundation team by throwing garbage and yelling obscenities. He's subdued with a tranquilizer dart and locked in his quarters. At 23 days, he begins capturing 511-1 and data expunged is only discovered when a Foundation research team enters for routine specimen collection 48 hours later. The team discovers the remains of 37 separate 511-1 collected in the kitchen. Bodies are dismembered and show sign of data expunged. His body is discovered in the basement after an apparent attempt to data expunged. The site is incinerated as an emergency containment procedure. Okay, I think there's something to the crazy cat lady idea. Think we need to be more careful with the Class Ds on this one. Addendum 2, interview with Agent Blank, survivor of containment breach at Site 511-47. Agent Blank, interviewer Dr. A. Blank. Agent was sole survivor from Mobile Task Force Blankety Blank, assigned to retrieve a 511 for study from Site 47 after the death of the homeowner, Mrs. B. Blank. Interview takes place at a St. Blank Blank hospital in Blank, Ohio. How are you feeling? Like I've had half my face ripped off. How do you think I feel? I want to talk about the containment breach. We have some questions, of course you do. Starting with why there was foreign matter introduced into the containment unit. Do you have any idea what we're dealing with? Why don't you tell me? We were tasked to retrieve a 40-kilo thing with a BSL-4 containment unit. You know how big those units are? I know the specifications. Like lugging a self-propelled washing machine. Now imagine dragging one of those into one of these places. You've already got reduced mobility from the hazmat suits. 50 kilos of gear, and you're walking into a house that has 2 or 3 decades worth of garbage in it. We have probably cat shit ankle deep in places, trash bags split open, piles of soggy newspaper and junk mail, boxes of clothes, furniture looks like it exploded, and fucking cats everywhere, eyes everywhere. Can we return to the containment unit? We have shit chest high in places, cats everywhere, and space is so tight that we have to go single file. No way a guy full gear can turn around and forget the containment unit. Just one look and there's no way we can use data expunged. So it was Agent Blank's idea. It was that or pack it in. Can't get downstairs, so we bait the unit with the body and pointed it at the basement door. According to the briefing, it would be attracted to freshly dead biological matter. And 511 was attracted to the baited unit. The most nerve-wracking 20 minutes of my life, listening to that thing pull itself upstairs. Thud, 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 and those cats watching us. You know how freaky cat eyes look with night vision equipment? So you captured 511. What happened then? We got out as quickly as we could. No one could turn around, so we back out. All those eyes watching us, staring. You were the first out the door? Last in, first out. We all got out for all the good it did. We thought we'd pulled it off, but the moment the containment unit rolled it out the door, What happened? You ever see films of explosive decompression? That's what happened to it. splattered itself all over the insides of the containment unit, and those cats, those fucking awful cats, they howled, then they rushed us. Did you attempt to contain the breach? You're kidding, right? 200 or 300 of them. Not just the door, but the windows, dropping on us from the second floor. When I saw Blake disappear under them, I just ran and locked myself in the van. I'm not proud of that. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to determine what happened so it does not happen again. Well, you see what happened to me? That was one of them that got it locked in with me. One! If you don't reclassify these things, Keter, you're insane. I will be recommending updates to the containment procedure. Yeah, while you're updating things, there's something else you need to update. What's that? The briefing was all about how 511 is influencing these cats. That's wrong. How so? 511 doesn't influence anything. It's the cats. They made 511, and they made it because they hate us. End log. Closing statement. Agent Blank died 3 days later from complications due to blood poisoning. 3 weeks after containment breach, a new incidence of 511 was identified in Blank, Ohio, 35 kilometers southeast of Site 51147. Remote biopsies of this new incidence revealed genetic material identified as coming from 3 agents of Mobile Task Force Blank Blank. It seems that the destruction of SCP-511 might only displace it elsewhere. Until we better understand the vectors that propagate it, all 511 need to be contained in place. Request for reclassification to 511 to Keter is denied. Well, that was definitely one hell of a start to the episode. Now it's time for the gravity nullifying umbrella. Is it Mary Poppins' umbrella? Or is it something sinister? Well, it's safe. Might be Mary Poppins' umbrella. And maybe someday I'll actually look at these links, since Site 77 is the only one that ever actually lets me go check out. Maybe someday I will. SCP-512 is held within the Site 77 Safe Object Repository. It is to be shut down at all times, and testing during adverse weather conditions is forbidden. All outdoor testing proposals must be reviewed by Security Chief Anderson. Description: 512 is a stainless steel black umbrella with a nylon canopy and polished ebony crook handle. Maximum radius of canopy when open is 0.75 meters. Make and manufacturer unknown. A taped patch is visible on the canopy section. When open and pointed upward, 512 exerts an upward force in opposition to Earth's gravity in a roughly dome-shaped area directly above itself, with a cross-sectional area of roughly 0.177 meters squared. Precipitation and other objects will be suspended and deflected within this area of effect. 512 has no effect when closed or when held at horizontal angle. Despite 512's efficacy against normal precipitation, it is inadvisable to use the object during severe weather. Through an as-yet unknown process, the item's anomalous effect causes the air above it to become extremely ionized. This interaction also causes electrical current to greatly increase in amperage while in direct contact with the item. This causes the threat of direct lightning strikes to become exponentially dangerous to any individual holding 512, as evidenced through the death of its original owner, as well as disposable 512-33. Additionally, electrical current appears to travel across the surface of 512, causing little to no damage to the item's structure. It was recovered from a public park in redacted Florida, because of course it was in Florida. Local emergency services had been summoned to evacuate the area due to reports of unusual lightning strikes. 512 was discovered caught on a street lamp and fully opened, with evidence of several lightning strikes in the immediate area. Its handle was noted to be covered in ash. Foundation personnel intervened after local newspapers began reporting on 512's anomalous properties. Addendum: Testing Summary. Upon recovery, 512 underwent standard testing, though through which its properties were determined. A range of items were held 4 meters above 512 and then dropped, after which a mechanical apparatus would open 512. Tested items included a liter of purified water dumped from a bucket, a liter of orange juice from concentrate, approximately a kilogram of loose feathers, a kilogram of ice cubes, the assorted contents of junior researcher Renfield's bagged lunch, a standard running shoe, a standard watermelon, SCP-1108, a 5.4 kilogram bowling ball, and a 40 kilogram steel containment crate. The testing material slowed and descended approximately half a second after 512 opened, with the larger and less solid items coming to a stop approximately 0.35 meters from the surface of it. All material will remain suspended in the air unless made to slide to one side and resume freefall. Liquids and particulate matter are weakly repelled from the center of the effect, while more solid objects can be held in place with minor adjustments to its angle. Addendum: Disposable 512-33. Testing item: a D-class personnel. They were taken to the Site 77 outdoors field for testing of the vertical distance of the anti-gravity effect. An unexpected severe storm occurred during testing, and the rain-propelling properties of 512 coupled with the exponentially low pressure caused a suction effect in the region directly above the object. 512 pulled the D-class, holding it upwards into the air and drifted on prevailing wind currents. They were able to hold on to 512 as it rapidly gained altitude. They glided over the perimeter and into the surrounding area. It was observed that 33 quickly developed skill in altering angle of anti-gravity to allow for semi-controlled flight. A helicopter was launched to pursue the object and 33. The object was recaptured following a lightning strike. The remains were not recovered. So they took advantage of the umbrella to try to get away and then got hit by lightning and were probably vaporized. Let's check out a cowbell. I was about to say, if it's keter, I call bullshit. I may have read this one. I may have read this one because I think this is one of the things that's in the SCP Containment Breach game. And I already read all the entries about the SCPs that are in the game. So I may have read this one already, but I'm not 100% certain. 513 is to be suspended in a 1 cubic meter block of gelatin and contained within a soundproof climate-controlled cell. The gelatin must be inspected daily for any degradation or loss of integrity. An emergency inspection will be carried out immediately following any earthquake, explosion, or sonic event grade 2 or higher. Personnel performing the inspection are to wear earplugs and active noise-canceling earmuffs at all times while inside 413's cell. If the gelatin cube shows any signs of degradation such as rips, tears, splits, liquefaction, or mold, 513 is to be immediately removed and suspended within a replacement cube by a team of surgically deafened disposable dudes. No other personnel are to enter the cell during this procedure. Any sentient beings exposed to 513 are to be monitored by at least 2 security personnel at all times. Under absolutely no circumstances may exposure victims be administered sedatives or allowed to fall unconscious. Any victim who does fall unconscious is to be terminated immediately. Class D personnel are to be terminated at the first sign of mental degradation. All other exposure victims may be terminated at their request. If possible, 413-1 is to be apprehended on site. Physically, 513 is an unremarkable rusty cowbell. No marks or engravings are visible on its surface due to the large amount of corrosion. Attempts to remove the rust chemically or mechanically have had no success. 513 was recovered by Agent Blank while carrying out Containment Reestablishment Procedure MU at Site Blank. 413's clapper was firmly held in place by several strips of duct tape. A single scrap of paper was found along with 513's addendum. Any noise produced by 513 immediately induces strong anxiety in all sentient beings who hear it, regardless of their previous mental status. Exposure victims report feelings of being watched by an unseen entity and present elevated heart rate and blood pressure. Roughly 1 hour after exposure victims began to catch glimpses of 513-1 when opening doors, walking past mirrors, turning their heads, or performing any other actions that result in a sudden change in visual perception. Upon being sighted, one reportedly turns away and runs out of view before disappearing without a trace. Questioning of bystanders indicates that one is invisible to those who have not been exposed to 513. Sightings of 513-1 reoccur every 14 to 237 minutes. This stalking behavior inevitably causes extreme sleep deprivation, as victims are frequently disturbed by one's presence in their quarters. Victims are able to fall asleep before one's appearance report being physically assaulted by it. Upon the victim's awakening, one flees as usual. See experiment log 513, which is not even here. This sleep deprivation, along with the mental stress caused by one's behavior, invariably induces paranoia, aggression, hypervigilance, and depression. All test cases but one have ended with the test subject's suicide. Descriptions of one's appearance are largely unreliable. Test subjects are unable to provide complete accounts of sightings due to their exhaustion, degraded mental health, and disruptive hypervigilance. However, all interrogations thus far indicate that one is a tall, emaciated humanoid with abnormally large hands. So it's the addendum. You've seen it, now he can hear you. You've touched it, now he can see you. Never ring it. If you hear it, he can touch you. Okay, so now this is up for a flock of doves, which is Euclid, because I guess they're alive? If it's even actually doves? There's currently no permanent containment site for 514, see Addendum 2. 514 is currently being tracked by Mobile Task Force Lambda 4, aka Birdwatchers, who are under orders to observe 514. In the event that 514 strays near a densely populated area, or an area where its presence will be easily noticed, Lambda 4 is authorized to use the blank in order to manipulate their migration patterns. Access to 514, I keep saying 514 and the blank is restricted to Mobile Task Force Lambda 4. Level 4 personnel may also have access, but must have O5 approval beforehand. and experiments or weapons tests with 514 must be performed exclusively at the Blank Advanced Weapons Research Facility. In the event the 514 risk public exposure or capture by rival groups, Lambda 4 is authorized to terminate the threat by any means necessary. It is highly recommended that such threats be terminated before they reach 514's dead zone, though this is not strictly necessary. Description: 514 is a flock of Columba livia domestica, or homing pigeons. Visual analysis confirms that these pigeons are, in fact, the kind used in white dove release ceremonies. However, the type of ceremony they were used in or the identity of who bred these doves is currently unknown. What makes 514 unusual is the weapon nullification aura it seems to project around itself. This aura projects itself at a roughly 500 meter radius around the flock, though this estimation varies depending on the flock size. This aura renders every known type of weapon useless and often destroys affected weapons after prolonged exposure. For instance, firearms will immediately jam or misfire, explosives will be rendered inert, and melee weapons will decay into dust. Also, the items 514's aura destroys appear to be selective. For further details, see experiment log 514A, which is here. In addition to its weapons nullification ability, it can also somehow suppress violent emotions and intent in sentient beings within the aura. Interviews with staff and civilians who have been exposed to the aura said they felt very calm and content, even when they felt stressed and angry just moments before. For further details, see experiment log 514B. Is that one here? It is. Currently, there appears to be no harmful or lasting effects of being exposed to the aura. Rigorous physical and psychological screening of individuals exposed to the aura showed nothing out of the ordinary. So, experiment log. Various tests were performed by continually using the blank to have 514 circle around a Foundation weapons testing range in blank. Items used: a Glock 9mm handgun, a Colt 45 1911 handgun, an MP5 submachine gun, a Thompson submachine gun, an M16, an AK-47, a saw, an M24, data expunged. All of them confirmed to be in working order. Result: all weapons, when fired, failed to fire. Later inspection showed they all suffered from various mechanical failures that rendered them useless. Ammunition exposed also failed to fire when loaded into weapons not affected by the aura. Chemical propellant was found to be rendered completely inert. Explosives used: a standard grenade, 1 ounce of dynamite, 1 ounce of C4, 1 ounce of thermite, 188mm high explosive mortar round, and 120mm tank shell. All of them were immediately rendered inert when exposed to the aura. In addition, any detonators or components that would aid in the detonation of the tested devices suffered mechanical and electrical failure. Melee weaponry: a combat knife, a steak knife, a bat, a katana, a pole axe, and a spear. All weapons, with the exception of the steak knife and the baseball bat, were rendered useless through accelerated rate of decay. However, when the steak knife and the baseball bat were used in a threatening manner, both items were immediately rendered useless. Items of weapons of mass destruction: 1 liter of serine nerve gas, a gram of weaponized anthrax, and 1 tactical nuclear warhead. All weapons rendered completely inert. All samples, including the nuclear material, were completely degraded, and instruments recorded no radiation. In the case of the warhead, the electronic detonator was also rendered useless. Conclusion: the aura appears to be able to render any conventional weapon useless. Also, the damage each weapon suffers is directly proportional to how long the weapon is exposed to the aura. In under an hour, all weapons eventually degrade it into dust. The aura is also somehow selective, being able to discern items that are actively designed as weapons from items that are potentially dangerous, but not specifically designed to be weaponized. However, 514 also appears to be able to discern when an item will be used for violent intent, and said item will be directly affected by the aura. Doctor, whoever you are. Experiment log B. Live subjects were exposed to 514's aura for an extended period of time. The subjects were divided into 2 groups: voluntary test subjects drawn randomly from the general population as the control group, and disposable dudes with a history of violent behavior as the test group. Tests showed that the test group's violent tendencies were completely suppressed and acted in a similar fashion to the control group. Suppression of the test group's violent tendencies occurs even after the subjects leave the aura, though the duration is directly proportional to the time spent exposed to the aura. Live testing against sentient SCPs proposed pending O5 approval. Addendum 1. Several high-ranking members in the Foundation's military branch, as well as various associated government agencies, have expressed interest in weaponizing 514. There is great strategic and tactical value in an asset that can effectively neutralize an entire enemy's army arsenal in a short period of time. There are also requests to test 514's aura against several keter-leveled SCPs. However, access to 514, as well as the blank, remains restricted. O5 Command is currently deliberating the issue. Addendum 2. All attempts to capture 514 for containment and study have met with failure. Every agent, doctor, and researcher sent to capture 514 steadfastly refused to complete the mission. This is most likely a reaction to the aura. Surveillance with Mobile Task Force Lambda 4 is still in effect, with the use of the blank authorized. Addendum 3. As of blank 2000 something, all members of Lambda 4 are required to be proficient in various non-violent competitive activities, including but not limited to sports, board games, card games, video games, trivia, riddles, and rock, paper, scissors. Are you serious? The fate of one of our SCPs could be decided on the outcome of rock, paper, scissors? 05 blank. I assure you, sir, you have nothing to fear. We are dead serious about these matters. Captain Blank, Mobile Task Force Lambda 4 Birdwatchers. Note. Captain, couldn't you have chosen a more dignified game as your primary conflict resolution method? Seeing two grown men in all-black tactical gear taking a children's card game so seriously is off-putting. I can only assume they're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering. Although Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering would cause a lot of anger, and I feel like the violence negating aura would not allow for playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering. Now it's time for the sleeper. Well, just sleeper. What? What? Okay, I'm gonna have to drink some water first. It's just gonna be a thing of having one keter every 5 episodes now? Or what? SCP-515 is to be kept entirely manacled to his sleeping quarters to the point of near total immobility. If 515's enclosure is seen to be empty, top priority must be placed on immediate recapture. Locomotion or simple twitch response behavior exhibited by 515 is to be noted and reported to research and emergency staff. If 515's legs or arms are in working order, they must be broken immediately to minimize his sleepwalking speed in the event of escape. See Addendum 515-1. The neck, however, cannot be broken due to the risk of death. See Addendum 2. Instead, it must be held immobile by a brace covering up to the chin and down to the shoulders. Amputation and severing of the motor nerves of the limbs are also not recommended, due to similar risks, and all muscle relaxants tested thus far have resulted in convulsive reactions, and as such should not be administered. Restraints are not to be unfastened at any time for any reason, and the room is not to be opened for anything but standard research purposes unless emergency conditions require it. Maintenance crews and D-Class are also to be kept away from the enclosure unless otherwise noted. Description: SCP-515 is presently a Caucasian male of the approximate age of 14. No applicable birth certificate has yet been found, so all relevant personal information is the product of a hypothesis and the subject of guesswork. His basal metabolic rate is comparable to that of a blue whale or a mammal of greater size, but mass is slightly below average for humans of similar ages. Despite ignorance of all other bodily needs and despite attempted interference on the part of researchers, 515 has yet to be observed in a state of consciousness apart from Stage N3 dreamless sleep. For the entire duration of containment, 515 has ingested no food or water and has passed no waste. What has kept him alive for so long is still under study. Even asleep, 515 has been known to speak on rare occasions. Little of what is said is intelligible, and that which can be heard is typically incoherent, similar to the speech of a person in the grip of delirium. Portions have been recorded for future research. No noticeable difference in the movement of 515-1 has been noted during these periods. Records of 515 in soliloquy. The vessel cannot view the incomprehensible. It simply moves in time with the sea. There are more, there are always more, repeated for several minutes on April 13, 2000 something. Then expunged. Can you see where I am? Can you breathe? Can you move? Whenever SCP-515 moves in any capacity, one or more of a number of celestial objects, mostly asteroids, move as well. The estimated 19 objects heretofore collectively named SCP-515-1 vary in diameter from 1.5 kilometers to 33.6 kilometers. The largest of these is roughly 133% the size of the object that caused the Vredefort impact crater in Free State, South Africa. Regardless of the direction of 515's motion, one only ever moves towards Earth. A twitch of a finger or toe typically corresponds to a movement of about 140 kilometers. Comparable movement of a limb indicates motion of 1 on the scale of 460 kilometers or more. Sustained motion, such as sleepwalking, has been demonstrated to correlate with the objects traveling towards Earth at velocities reaching 280,000 kilometers per hour. The rise and fall of 515's chest unfortunately must not be stopped and, according to Foundation satellites, corresponds with a movement in the celestial objects to the degree of 10 kilometers per respiratory cycle. If 515 is killed, it is presumable that someone with a similar anomaly will appear someplace else on the planet, see Addendum 2. Due to the difficulty and danger of having to find such an individual with no initial leads, it is stressed that killing 515 is never an acceptable course of action. Addendum 1. On a number of occasions, 515 has been freed from its restraints by unknown means. No physical presence has been seen to cause this, and the restraints themselves have only ever looked as though they remained untouched during these occurrences. Because of this, it is yet uncertain whether it is his own doing that he escapes, or as an outside force interfering without being noticed. If this occurs, all available resources at Site Blank must be directed towards 515's location, recovery, and placement into an enclosure. The designation of 515 was formerly given to a middle-aged woman found from Blank, Guatemala, with a condition identical to that of the current designee. She, too, was found with no personal history and with no connection to any people in the surrounding area, despite having lived in a small and closely knit community. After the realization of her connection with one and her coming into care of the Foundation, both a tight-fitting, full-body cast and the routine breaking of legs, arms, and neck were used to prevent the subject from moving. Both she and the present 515 have been known to escape confinement, including such a cast, so keeping major bones broken was used as a method of keeping movement slow when such events transpired. However, on blank 19-something, complications from a pair of shattered vertebrae proved fatal. One was noted to have stopped moving after this occurrence, and after several months without any change, the Foundation presumed the matter closed. On blank 19-something, motion of one restarted. A thorough search returned the result of the current designee after 22 days. He was taken into custody immediately and subjected to revised containment policies that prevented the breaking of the neck. One had moved a total distance of blank 1,000 kilometers from the start of the search to the finish, and has moved an estimated blank 1,000 kilometers during his stay at the Foundation. Due to the motion caused by 515's respiration, the Foundation continues to allocate resources towards finding an efficient manner of neutralizing the threat presented by the potential impact of 515-1. So, the reason that the sleeper is keter is not because the sleeper himself, but when he moves, many meteors fly towards the Earth. And how quickly they do this depends entirely on how much movement he did. So, yeah, that brings us to the end of this episode. In the next one, we're going to start with the intelligent tank and move up through the knife switch. I wonder which one of these will abruptly be a keter entry, but we'll just have to find out tomorrow. So, this has been Anachi Sasuke. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you would need to do either one of those things, and I will see y'all in the next one. Later!